Hi, RPD here. In this video I want to introduce a trick called Tails. Tails is a hybrid between a Swift and a Twisted Sonic. If you haven't seen yet the previous two videos explaining Swift and Tangle, I recommend you to first check those out, since this tutorial builds upon what was explained there. I found this trick mid-2021 when I was looking for a flashy trick to use as the finisher for my PSO 2022 combo. I had found that if I put the thumb between the pens with the right timing, then somewhat miraculously one pen would roll over the thumb, and that would be the perfect setup for fifth trick into pinky back. I couldn't think of a name, so I asked Criswea if he had any ideas, and he told me that, well, we have Sonic, we have Shadow, why don't we have Tails? And for me the logic was impeccable, so I was like, yeah, sure, let's go with that one. There's 16 non-mirrored variations and another 16 mirrored ones. In this tutorial we'll learn just the 16 non-mirrored ones, and yeah, half of them change chirality, half of them don't. If you want to know why, there's a note for nerds right now in the screen. For this trick to work, you need to do the first motions of a Swift without using the top finger. That is, if upward Swift is this trick, you need to do it without using the thumb. We saw how to do it in the Swift tutorial. To do it, the index finger has to move from the top of the top pen to the bottom of the bottom pen. And now this pen is going to be suspended on top of the index finger, the middle finger and the pen. And as you complete the pass reverse, the pen is going to move as we want it. Once the pen is suspended on top of this finger, then there is 4 paths it can take. It can fall to the back side of the hand, it can fall to the back side of the hand after doing a pen around 0.5, can fall to the palm side of the hand, or to the palm side of the hand and then do a pen around 0.5. These are the 4 basic variations, and that's why we have 16 in total. Of all 16, I find these 4 to be the easiest to implement in combos. Now let's see how this trick looks in T1-2 instead of 1-2-3. The T1-2 variations have very distinct visuals and I really like them. To do the inverse variations, we need to be able to do inverse Swift without the top finger. That is, if inverse Swift is this trick, we need to do it without the thumb. Or at least using as little as possible the thumb, since for some of these variations I haven't found a way to go completely thumbless without some initial momentum. Of course, if this trick came after another, then maybe you can use the momentum of the other trick to do the motion more cleanly or more smoothly. Anyways, the idea is that the index finger has to go from the top of the top pen to the bottom of the bottom pen, and then with some momentum or some wrist motion or just pushing a bit with the thumb, then you can get this pen to be suspended on top of the index finger. And then it's the same, there are 4 paths that the pen can take. It can go to the palm side after half an around, it can go to the back side or to the back side after half an around. To do the antipodal variations, we need to be able to do inverse swift reverse without the top finger. That is, to do this trick without the thumb. To do it, the index finger has to go from the top of the top pen to the bottom of the bottom pen. And now this pen is going to balance on top of the index finger and the pen, and somewhat on the middle finger. As you complete the pass reverse, the suspended pen will automatically move as we want. Mechanically, this trick feels very similar to the basic variations, maybe a bit harder. Visually, they are almost identical, so using one or the other is not going to be decided based on the visuals, it's just that the starting chiralities are different, so depending on what trick came before, you'll want to do either one or the other. I think it's useful to practice both for building combos.
Hi, it's RPD from the future. I was double checking the clips and I noticed that one of them didn't have the correct initial chirality, so I'm correcting this right now. What I did was starting from L chirality, doing this trick, then it finishes in R chirality. This is not what I wanted to present. What I wanted to present was starting from R chirality to do this, finishing in R chirality. This is the proper RR antipodal tails. Is the other trick also an antipodal tails? What is it? I don't know. It's very complicated. It's very confusing. I'm sure that other people are going to get confused by exactly the same problem, so I'm just leaving this in the tutorial for anyone that's following, trying to do all 16 variations. Who knows, maybe you can find 16 more following this. Good luck.
Finally, let's look at antipodal inverse variations. These are, in my opinion, the trickiest ones to do. The idea is to do swift reverse, so this trick, without the thumb. And despite this being a very easy trick with the thumb, without the thumb I feel like it's kind of tricky. The idea is the same as the others, to move the index finger from the top of the top pen to the bottom of the bottom pen. And now this pen is going to be kind of like suspended on top of the index finger and like the thumb flap. However, you see that the center of the pen is not where we want it. We want it to be like here. So we want to move this pen towards that side, and we'll need some extra momentum or like a flick of the wrist or something to get the pen moving how we want it. The only variation where I feel like I don't need that is this one, which I called LL inverse antipodal tails. So this one. And coincidentally, I find the easiest of the four. For all of the others, yeah, you'll need some extra momentum to kind of like push the pen towards that side, and then it can fall here, or it can fall here, or it can fall here. In 2021, I didn't really understand what was going on with this trick. At first, for example, I thought it was only possible to be done with the thumb, but as you know, that's not the case. Anyway, I was trying to deepen my understanding by finding other variations. The first one that I found is that in tails around with the thumb, if you remove the thumb mid-rotation, the end position changes. I think this is a very interesting concept that can probably be applied to other tricks in two pen one hand, but I haven't tried to expand on this idea yet. The other two variations that I found are some attempts at mirrored tails. I think that notation-wise they are not exactly mirrored tails, but anyway, it doesn't matter. They are nice tricks if you want to learn them and put them into your combos. I also wanted to show this clip from Criswea in 2022, doing a tails around with the thumb. I find it interesting how his initial push is more of a half tap than the push I use. The visuals change as well, so that's great. As you practice these tricks, I recommend you to try and link them in various ways, however you find interesting. Let me just introduce one link which I think is particularly important: tangle to tails. The clip that you just saw is shown exclusively in 1, 2, 3, but if you use the thumb, you get the trick I used for my PSO 22 finisher. The same way that I have shown tangle to tails, you can also link inverse tangle to inverse tails and antipodal tangle to antipodal tails, etc. And you can also mix and match them as long as the chiralities and the rotations are correct. In any case, I hope you liked this video and hope to see you in the next one.